The New Patriotic Party held its National Delegates Conference during the weekend and elected new executives to steer the affairs of the party for the next 4 years. Although the conference was largely successful, there were some low points, allegations of vote buying and all. But when all is said and done, the party has a new crop of executives who are expected to work towards breaking the eight. Will they be able to live up to the task? To discuss these highlights of the conference and what to expect going forward, I have with me Mr. Kwabena Agyapong, former General Secretary of the NPP, and you are watching The Hard Truth. My name is Nana Akosua, Konadu Asante-Samuels. Kwabena, welcome to The Hard Truth.
Thank you very much, Akosua.
Oh, very, but I'm glad you're here today.
I'm also happy to see you. You're looking elegant.
Thank you. So moving on to it, NPP your party held its, delegates conference over the weekend. What is your general assessment, overview of the event?
I think first and foremost, we have to recognize that a Congress is not a single day's event. It's a culmination of processes. And I can say that the NPP can be proud of what we've been able to achieve. It's the only political party in Ghana today that can say we have organized elections from the polling stations, which is the basic unit of political activity in the country. Over 38,000 polling stations, electoral area coordinators, constituency elections, regional elections.
It was held up. Long time people were waiting outside and all. There was so much delay. All these are
I think that had to do with, the issue of the register.
Right.
And I should say that things have really improved from the past. Gone were the days in 1998 when all you needed to do was to give a constituency chairman 10 voting cards. There was no album. But now things have changed. There's been electoral reform around the whole country. And I think it is important that we recognize that fact. Of course, there will be challenges or complaints, and I'm sure some of the aspirants were unhappy with the state of the album. I think there was a little bit of a delay in that.
So largely, to you, it was successful?
Oh yes, I think it's a successful conference. And the energy levels were quite high. Right. I was very impressed with it, and we can take it from there.
Now, after trying and, failing 4 times, spanning over 20 years, we see Stephen Ntim finally achieving what he wanted to become. He's now the national chair for the NPP. What are your thoughts on him? And, he won. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the fact that he won so massively, this party, our party, is a party that rewards long service and hard work. And if you've been there for a long time, it gets to a point, they'll reward you.
But the margin was huge.
That's what I'm saying. I think the delegates have settled on him long ago.
Was it because it's his time? It's been 20 years.
I don't believe it was his time or so. But I think he has worked hard at this position. This was the 5th
Working
time.
hard. Tell me, what has he done for the party? Tell me. What do you think he's done for the party that made delegate?
Well, he's been first vice chairman before, in times past. And he's been a contributor to the party. Ntim has helped with logistics in the past, with cars, with office logistics. So he's someone who stayed the course despite the many unfortunate shortcomings that he has faced in his career, his attempt to become chairman of the party. So I think ultimately the party delegates decided to reward him. And I think all of us can be happy that he's been able to realize his ambition. But most importantly is what he does going forward and how he leads the party. That's what matters, and that's what we are all encouraging him to ensure, that we create an enabling environment. Politics and winning elections based on the enthusiasm of the grassroots. Once they are happy, once their spirits are rejuvenated, and they are excited about their candidates, that's when they work hard the most.
I see.
Because it's based on a spirit of voluntarism.
I see. I'm intrigued by, his winning, but I want to ask you, what kind of chairman will he be? What are your expectations of him?
Well, I've known Ntim for a very long time. As I said, he's a very calm, measured person. And most importantly, I think he can learn from the earlier experiences he's had in the party. The party has had strong chairmen like B.J. Darocha, Peter Lajete in the past, and as a counterbalance to our governments. It's very important that governments are products of political parties and they don't exist in isolation. That's why it's been a convention that the two prime officers of the political parties, that's the chairman and the general secretary, they, by convention, attend cabinet meetings to ensure that what is good for the country, what is good for the party, gets done by the government. So I do think that he's got a big task. As you said, we have an election looming in 2 years. It's never happened that we have 3 terms. So it will be a novelty, but it's something that is a possibility. And if we work hard to rejuvenate the base of the party, and our cadre corps and the foot soldiers are happy and excited about it.
How do you hear this a lot, making foot soldiers happy? How do you make over millions of people happy? Is that even possible?
When you let them
is that
feel
a possibility?
It's possible.
Listening.
When you let them feel a sense of ownership.
Of what?
Of the process. I mean, you could see the energy in the stadium yesterday. Once they decide on something, what party people don't like is the machinations and the shenanigans and the arm-twisting techniques to try and force a candidate on them. And I've always said, let the delegates decide who their preferred choice is. Our party, the NPP, has survived the vagaries of 65 years of politics in our country because we are eternal Democrats. And we believe that democracy means majority of the people taking the decision and also taking into consideration the concerns of the minority.
So involve grassroots, they will help you in your agenda.
Of course.
Once
going forward,
right,
they allowed a fair playing field in whatever they do, and they don't feel a sense of coercion or being directed or steered in one direction against their own wishes, then you can expect.
So what? If I'm a grassroots, I don't get what I want. That means that I'm not steering the affairs or in the direction of the chairman.
Not necessarily. If there's an election, for instance, or yesterday, everybody was satisfied with the result. The one who won knows that he carried the majority of the vote. The one who didn't win just also accepts the fact that he fell short. That's how it is.
But allegations,
there's going to be one winner and one
loser. But what about allegations of against Mr. Intim? Of vote buying, Mr. Samuel Boateng accused him for buying votes from delegates. Do you think Intim bought his way to the chairmanship?
I don't think. I went and voted as a voter myself. Nobody tried to convince me with money or anything of that sort. And that's not to suggest that nothing like that happened, but I cannot verify those statements. So I don't normally like to comment on.
He said he's buying the votes. He got a message from an unknown person. He said he sent some text messages of 500 and additional 500 and all of that. So did he buy his way through the chairmanship?
The elections are over. He has won massively. I mean, the gap between himself
and the
rest.
Don't you care? There's an allegation. It's like, he's won massively. But someone is alleging that he bought the votes. And does that make it okay?
What is important is allegations should be backed by evidence. Absolutely vital that we do that. But we should also learn to be sportsmanly in defeat. If you fell short of your expectations, let's move on. This has been an election. We were all there. And I think that the election has been declared. It wasn't even close. The margins were big, especially within Tim's victory. And I think that should end the matter. We all have to work together. We need one another to forge a strong, united front to be able to win 2020.
But what's interesting is Accuser, also admitted that he himself gave TNT to the delegates on some occasions. Isn't this vote buying from his side as well?
I have been a politician most of my life. If you travel to Bumpurugu and you go and meet party delegates, some are farmers, some are workers. They travel from the hinterland to come and meet you. Then they have to forfeit their work for the day. So all you do is show a token of appreciation by giving them transport.
The party won candidate. The party won candidate not to give any money to delegates, including TNT.
I don't like monocracy. And democracy should
But he has openly said or admitted that he gave some money to the parties.
That is for him, the accuser, to make.
So do you think he should be sanctioned?
Who?
He said it himself. The party said no one should give money to delegates, even for TNT. And he said himself that he did that. So now I'm asking you, should we sanction him or should he be sanctioned?
Well, I think the new
He flouted
executive,
the rules.
the ones they assemble as a steering committee, would meet at national executive, and then, fortunately, I'm a member of the national executive as a former general secretary. We'll review the election, and if there are any pitfalls, we'll take a look at it.
So you were saying that someone from wherever leave their whatever and then come to the voting center to vote. So you think it's free? TNT is fine. I mean, according to you, do you think?
I'm saying that the norm, let's be realistic here. We all have to be very pragmatic. You know, you travel around the country to meet the delegates and speak to them. Share your vision, your opinion with them. They have to forfeit their time of the day, sacrifice to come and meet you. And you can just meet them halfway with a little transport. That is not vote buying. Vote buying is different. That is what happens at the center when people come with stash of money. That is wrong.
Does the committee carry weight at all? You said just now you are a member of that committee, the election
National Executive Committee.
Great. I mean, do you carry weight? Is what you say carry weight? Because if you come out to say that no one is supposed to be for TNT, yes.
That's the third biggest, most important organ of the party.
So that means someone has flouted. Someone said, I did that. I came out. I gave TNT.
The elections are over.
It doesn't matter. We don't say I've stolen money and it's done. I mean, these are rules. I mean, it's sounding like that.
Sit here and legislate over this discussion.
I'm listening.
And that is why we have a National Executive Committee. The steering committee, having been sworn in, will meet, and I'm sure they will make proposals to the National Executive Committee. Normally, after every election, the party reviews what happened with a view to improving the next one, because we all know that coming forward is the presidential primary. There's a lot at stake, and we want to improve all things that we have seen in this past election.
Kwabena, monetization in our politics has worsened in recent times, and it seems that efforts to fight this has become ineffective. Are you losing the fight, or are we all losing the fight in that?
I have said politics is for the people, of the people, and by the people. That is democracy. Okay? And we have to shun monocracy. It's absolutely necessary. And it's to let the party people know they cannot mortgage their future. They have to vote their conscience. They have to evaluate the messages that are being delivered to them by various aspirants and vote with their conscience.
Some say that.
Not about money.
Some say I don't get anything from anyone, so the only way I get money is now.
Well, first and foremost, when you're a delegate, the meaning of delegate is that a section of the population where you come from have delegated their authority to you to go and represent them to vote in their best interest. So if you go and pick money individually, you are not representing them. You are not representing their interest. Okay? Because the money that you purport to go and pick, you don't go and share with anybody. So I think that we have to de-emphasize that. And we have to speak against it. It is wrong. The party frowns on it. All well-meaning Ghanaian patriots should frown on it. And again, the delegates, they should stand up and be counted. They should ignore that kind of trait. It is not good at all for the future of our country. And it's important they recognize that voting for a person who is capable of delivering our country and providing the vision that would inspire the youth and revive and rejuvenate the party base, that should be their preoccupation, not money. Not money at all.
Now let's look at this. The contest for the GS position, the General Secretary position, was very keen, but it was virtually a race between John Boydu and who was the incumbent, and then Mr. Justin Kodia. Were you surprised by John Boydu's loss?
No, elections in our party, especially the General Secretary's position, is the most important position in the party. You are the chief executive and the administrator of the party at the headquarters. So a lot depends on what you do and what you do not do. And so it's always an exciting contest. It's always been from times past. So I wasn't surprised at the keenness of the competition. And the majority decided who they wanted to steer affairs of the party for the next 4 years. And that's what happened.
But so what do you think accounted for his loss?
Well, I'm not here. I cannot speak for the majority of the party people. they are the ones who decided. They are the ones who are there, who feel the heat. These are the front soldiers, the front line soldiers of our political struggle.
Right.
When you are executives in a constituency, you lead the line of fight. And so they know what they've been through. They've decided that they want a new person. So I think
you
we
can't
should
just
respect-
decide
we-
that
we should
because in
respect-
2018 he enjoyed so much support from the grassroots winning elections and about 4,277 votes, while the sole contender Richard also had about 1,200. Was huge, but this time around it's just 2,5 something.
I think
24
unless
votes.
you want to go back to the history, behind that, and I think it's not fair on me, having been the incumbent, to come and pass judgment or have a discussion on that, because people may think I'm an interested party. What is important is that we've had an election. We have elected new executives. They will work hand in hand. It's a strong team. We all wish them well. We would place at their disposal all the experience and the love we have for this party,
Right.
so that we can move the party forward. Most importantly, is how dynamic we are as a leadership. Be able to have a cause that people will identify with and believe in. And I have always stated that the NPP is a mass party, is a party that has a crucial hardcore base. It's important that we do not take them for granted.
Right. So did he
We do
lose
not-
touch
we
with the
do not take-
grassroots? Do you think he lost touch, with the grassroots?
I don't know why you want to go back into an election that is in the past.
No, so
I
that
think-
so that the,
No,
the
we have
new
to
elected
look- no.
ones, will
They-
have to
you see,
ensure
you
that they are
can't
working.
change-
You talked about grassroots
Yes, you
working
can't-
hand in hand with
you
them.
can't
So
change-
again, did he lose touch? He lost. This is the guy who won 4,000 and over in 2018, and he lost. What did he do so that these guys can learn from?
The
We can't
party-
just move away
the
and
party
say
has
the
decided.
election is over and
The
all that.
party has decided, and I think that should be it. The delegates have decided.
Did he
the
lose
power
touch?
to decide?
In your opinion, sir, did
No, I
he
don't think. I don't
lose
think my
touch with
personal
that?
opinion should be important here. The fact of the matter is, the majority of the party people have decided on what their choice.
I see.
Going forward, I think that's what we should respect.
See, now at the conference grounds, we saw many regional chairmen of the party showing support for John Boadu, chairman by.
Well, I
Chairman
was
Bonti.
pretty surprised.
Is it healthy?
It's
a
not,
person,
it's not
is it
healthy.
healthy?
Let's call it spade a spade. I mean, the party has its own regulations against senior office holders of the party coming out openly, siding with aspirants. It's not healthy. The result has proved it. I mean, if 15 out of the 16 came out openly campaigning, now you see what is going to happen, because you have a general secretary that you didn't support. You didn't need to do that. I've stated that before, and I want to re-emphasize it. Electoral Commissioner votes. The Chief Justice votes. The CDS, the IGP, they all vote. They have a preference, but they don't state it in public. It is not right to do so. It goes against the grain of the party's own electoral regulations. So that was something that the regional chairman should look at themselves.
Are you going to sanction them?
Well, they should look at themselves, and we'll go to National Executive, and I'm sure we all have our take on that. It shouldn't happen. Again, even as a precursor to the upcoming Flagbearership contest, some very senior members of the party have been making noises. It is not correct. Let's stick to the rules. Let's do the right thing. If anybody wants to become the flag bearer of the party, what you do is to write to the regions, send your itinerary, go there, campaign, talk to the delegates, all 200,000 delegates around the country, go and prevail on them or persuade them to invest political authority in you. That decision lies in your bosom. You can't sit in Accra and try and manipulate things, like we see quite recently with some executives being chaperoned to the Jubilee House. That is not right. It shouldn't happen. And as members of our party and as a former general secretary, I think it's incumbent on me to be able to sound that publicly, that we should do what is right for the country, what is right for our party. And I'm sure if the regional chairman take a look at themselves in the mirror, they know that they didn't do well doing what they did.
No.
I mean, you can go and vote for whoever you want. You don't have to say it.
To make noise about it.
That's
But
right.
you occupied the GS position before. From where you said, what task or what lies ahead of, Justin Kudia as he assumes this position, and What advice would you give him to focus on?
It's a big task, and you have to focus on the 275 constituencies. We are normally referred to as general, because these are the 275 infantry units you have at your disposal.
Yeah.
And you have to negotiate a very delicate relationship with the regions. The regions, in my personal view, are the ones who should be the coordinators to monitor and ensure that the groundwork is being done by the constituencies. But the General Secretary should always have direct links with the 275 constituency units, because that's where the action is. Elections are declared in these constituencies, not in the regions. And it's important that we also de-emphasize a trend that is happening that I think we should speak against, and I'm worried about.
Which is what?
The trend of executives forming associations across constituencies. It's something that we have to discourage, like what the regional chairmen have done. It's like an association of regional chairmen. We should discourage that. If you're a regional chairman, work with your regional secretary and your 17 regional officers, concentrate in your region. You don't need to go across another region to go and establish links with other regional executives. That is counterproductive, because you are really relinquishing your main focus, which is your region. The same should happen for the constituencies. If you're a secretary in a constituency, work with your organizer, your youth organizer, your national coordinator, have harmony. There should be build harmony in the constituency executive lineup, rather than try to reach out to your fellow secretary in another constituency around the country. So the Association of Secretaries, Association of Youth Organizers, it is something that is gradually creeping in. And I think it's because the regional chairman did it. I would state that in national executive that we have to dissuade them. It's not that kind of association. It's not recognized anywhere in our party constitution. And we should discourage them from doing that and get them to work as a unit in every one of the 275 constituencies.
You're still watching The Hard Truth. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Hard Truth. Former General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, Mr. Kwabena Agyapong, is still here. Kwabena, the president called for, all the NPP members, all of you, to unite behind the new executives. But Titus Glover, who lost the contest for the national organizer position, yes, already stated that he cannot work with the elected, the newly elected.
He really said that?
He said that.
Are you
Henry,
sure?
yes, Henry Nana Boakye. It would seem unity will not come easy with it.
Well, I mean, Titus has been a member of parliament, a deputy minister. So he served this country and the party in many ways. I haven't heard that. If he said that, I'll be a bit surprised.
He said that.
But I think maybe in the immediate aftermath, that's why sometimes it's not too good to have interviews in the immediate aftermath of a political contest. But I'm sure he'll have a reflection of it. He's somebody I know has worked for this party in the past and loves the party. And I'm sure whatever contribution he's called upon to make, whatever position he's called upon to occupy to support the progress of this party, I'm sure he would not relent in his efforts.
So what should the approach be, for the new executives in building consensus? What should that approach be?
I think this is a word you've used, building consensus, creating harmony. And I think this is the harmony that we used to have during the Dubois time, when after a contest, you never see anybody referring to Mr. A as Dr. Selby's man or Dr. Sefodi's man. We all just unite behind Professor Dubois, and that's what we did. And that's what we have to revive. That's the kind of spirit of unity that we need to share going forward. I mean, elections People will win, people will be bruised. We have to be careful in the things that we say in the lead up. But after that, all said and done, let's work together, support our party, and then have a program to be able to achieve our target, which is victory in 2024.
We hear of a reconciliation toy at all, regions and constituencies and regional officers to settle internal conflicts and disputes. What is this likely to do? Is it going to yield any meaningful results?
Well, during my time, we had a very strong committee made up of some very senior figures. Eventually, most of them became ambassadors. Ayikoyo to Papu Swankama, I think, yes. Ajebe, they all became ambassadors. Daviama was the only lady among them who was also the only one who didn't become an ambassador, who were the team that we put together like an arbitration team. When there are issues in constituencies, these are senior people, respected people who can get in there. And there's a committee like that in place. I think it's being headed by the Minister of Sanitation, Cecilia Abnadapa, who has been with us right from day one, has got the institutional memory of this party to be able to assist when there are issues of tensions. It all has to do with how elections are run and conducted and how people feel. If they feel how done by and there's a lot of machinations and shenanigans against them, that's when it becomes very difficult for them to accept the result. I think that yesterday's election, I think it was by and large quite simply successful. I do believe that what we have to do at the constituency level, they have these kind of arbitration teams there, they have council of elders there. We have to ensure these council of elders play the role of elders, not to be partisan, part of conflicts. They should rather pour water on conflicts and douse the fires.
Right. All the talk do. I mean, the reconciliation talk. What is it likely? What are we likely to see at the end of the day?
Well, no, normally I haven't seen or haven't heard in detail what you're talking about, because immediately after I voted, I left.
You left.
I left. So I watched the rest of it on television. So I don't think, but we'll go to national executive normally when there's a new team in place. Once they've been sworn in, they'll have a steering committee. They will call for a national executive committee meeting. So that will happen. And then we'll review all the pitfalls, as I've said, the shortcomings and the issues that are emanating from the contest in the various constituencies.
Right. But I want to know, what challenges do you see, coming from building the consensus? What would they face? The new executive, what challenge are they going to face?
If you are genuine, building a consensus, the party has regulations. It has a constitution that is very clear on so many things. If you stick to it, both the spirit and the letter, and you don't try to work around it to the disadvantage of others, then you are likely to build a consensus. As I said, it's all about majority rule. It's democracy. People may have different opinions, but we can agree to disagree. Sometimes, as the Nigerians may put it, we can violently disagree, but we don't resort to violence. You understand? So once we understand that we are all politicians, we are in it together, we have a party to run, we have an election to win, first, the country must be supreme. All actions and decisions we take, is it inuring to the benefit of Ghana? And then to the party. Because the party is a vehicle to serve the country, Ghana.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we are the party in government. So we should not be taking actions that the Ghanaian people will mistrust. You understand? We cannot take for granted the mandate that they gave us in 2020. We have to ensure that we renew whatever feelings that they have, inject some more vitality.
We are very upset, Ghanaians are upset at the way things are going right now.
Well, they showed that in the 2020 election. I mean, the fact of the result of the 2020 election, you could see, if you're honest and straight to the point, there's no better parameter for the satisfaction of a people than the election result. And it's quite clear that we suffered in the 2020 election. I mean, from the huge margins that we had in 2016 to what the near miss, I would say, by the skin of our teeth. So that should send a strong signal to the president, to his team, to the party, that
they are failing Ghanaians.
That Ghanaians are not happy with some of the things we have done. And we have 2.5 years. we can turn around. We can turn things around. It's how we lead. And I always talk about leadership is very important. How we reduce the waste in the system. How to make certain changes that we have to make
coming
to satisfy
to
the
that,
Ghanaian
national
people.
executive elections over.
Yes.
We get into the flag bearer race.
Yes.
You have expressed your interest in contesting. What makes you a good candidate?
Look, what is important is I have a strong passion for the transformation of this country. Absolutely. It's not about me contesting, not about me being president. I have a profound engagement with changing this country, the narrative of our country, and about politics,
Kwabena,
the very foundation
I'll
of
put
politics.
this here, and I'll just stay straight and talk to you like that.
Yes.
You've had leaders in this nation
Yes.
who said that the same things you're saying. I am this. I am the better option. I can do X, Y, Z.
I'm just telling you. Asked the question.
Right. So what makes you a better candidate?
I don't think. You've changed the narrative.
I haven't.
Really, because I don't think we are talking about myself as a presidential candidate.
I'm talking about you right now. What makes you?
I've been in government before. And I believe in three things. I was press secretary to President Akufo for close to 6 years. Okay? And my record in public office is there for all to see. What is important is we need leadership that understands people, that loves people, and cares for people. People who have empathy for the suffering of the Ghanaian. And my own life history, my life experience, I know what I have been through. And so I understand it when somebody is standing on the street side and hasn't had a meal for 8 hours. Because I've gone through that before.
If you're all
what is important
if
is that
you're all that.
The three things that I normally think should underpin political leadership. The spirit of service, prepared to serve. Servant leadership. Then sacrifice. Are you prepared to sacrifice? And then are you prepared to be selfless? That is very important. And the sacrifice, as I said, the public record I've exhibited from a Dubois Henning's time to Kufuor's time.
Your party kicked you out?
Yes.
They kicked you out?
Yes.
Because?
Well, I think we all have seen what has gone on recently. These were lies and propaganda and malicious accusations against me that were, I would say, organized. But those are in the past. I mean, I want to move on. I want to move on. In 2000.
No, because now I'm sure viewers are watching. They're thinking, this guy was kicked out. I mean, why should Ghana give him the nod? It's what most of people will be.
Well, they'll have the opportunity to listen to my message. Okay, my message of hope and love, vision for our country, a vision that will inspire the younger generation to use my life example, someone that will inspire them to know that Ghana is a country worth dying for. The despondency that I see in the youth of the country, especially when I read from the social medias, they've lost hope because they are looking at the wrong examples. What is important is we should ask ourselves how much we can contribute to our country. It's not about what we'll get out of our country.
We've seen names, or we've heard names about Mahmoud, Bawumia, and Tremontin, and Kwabena Agyapong are some names that are running, or we hear are going to run for the Flagbearer seat. Can you defeat such, we call them heavyweight in quotes? You think you can defeat them?
What is important, you have forgotten that I was the last popularly elected General Secretary before this one.
I do remember.
And I won against all the machinations in Tamale, even when I was in hospital. You remember, I had an unfortunate accident on my way to Tamale. The party people, they trust me. They know I've worked hard, delivered everything that I can for this struggle. Not today. Today we are in a democratic country of 30 years plus. But even in 1992...
So these names don't scare you? They don't scare you?
No, not at all. I don't get scared by anybody. And as the youngest aspirant in 2007, this is not going to be news. I've done it before. This is not the first time. I've done it before. That's why I don't want us to place too much emphasis on that.
How far?
When the time comes.
Right.
When the party...
The time is now. We are not waiting to 2024.
I'm saying that when I say when the time comes, what I mean is the party has regulations.
Right.
And I want to be a stickler to discipline. Respect the regulations of our party.
Great.
The party will go into a meeting and decide on the process for the Flagbearership.
I'm asking, how far are you willing to go to win the race?
Just hard work. Go to the country, sell your vision to the electorate, and they prevail on them, the ideas that you have to rebuild our country, to rebuild the confidence of our country. We have a largely agrarian population. What support are we going to give them to make sure that post-harvest losses will be cut and we can provide markets for what they do? We have a lot of stuff in this country. Most importantly, once we can impose discipline and organization in our country, we'll be getting there. We have all the laws, seminars and things have been done. It's how we lead that matters. The quality of our leadership, letting people feel that we care for them, and then cutting down on government waste is absolutely vital. Having value for money for our government projects and making sure that there's a penalty regime for those infractions that we see. So we can reduce impudence, quality control, and quality assurance in all aspects of our life. Life is about living. Even our human settlements, the way they are managed, I don't think is the best. Those are the things, especially with my civil engineering background as a technical person, those are the things that I'll be focused on to make sure that we can rebuild our country, rebuild our people, the confidence of our people, for them to understand there is something there to be proud of as Ghanaian, to die for our country.
So, Kennedy Agyapong, or Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, believes that Dr. Bawumia and Honorable Alan Chimanti will not be good candidates for the party because they are part of cabinet that takes decisions to the IMF, or they took that decision to the IMF. Do you agree?
That's an interesting suggestion. It's a very interesting suggestion. The campaign hasn't started, but of course they have to accept responsibility because they are part of the cabinet. They are part of government. Okay, so if there are successes, they can share it, and if there are negatives, they have to accept responsibility. And the two are members of the economic management team. So when there's a tough economy, I think they have questions to answer, and that's a fair question to put to them.
So they shouldn't tell us they want to do.
No, I haven't said that. I don't put words in my mouth.
I'm not. I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
No, don't put words in my mouth.
Do you think they should sit down and leave it to others?
No. As I said, I'm an eternal Democrat. This is an election. Everybody has to go out there, campaign with their message, try and win the trust and the faith of the party faithful. And once you're able to cross that bridge, then you come to the national message. So absolutely, that's how we have to do it. We cannot consign people on the basis of the fact that they were part of the government or not. But of course, they have questions to answer because they are part of it. That is what it is.
Now, the NPP wants to break the 8. How difficult will it be to, for this to happen?
I don't like slogan.
Is it just a slogan?
I don't like sloganeering. Okay, if you want to win, you have to work hard. You have to take the decisions that will revive the confidence that people have in you as a party and as a government. So those are the things we should be focusing on. It's not just sloganeering. So for me, I don't even mention that.
Right. So
it's a right now we have a difficult world environment. We know that. Okay? We all know what COVID has devastated economies around the world, and Ghana is part of the world community. Of course, we all know the effects of the Russia-Ukraine war on oil prices that have really shot up to $140.
Are we blaming everything on
No,
these
we are
things?
not.
That's what you do right now.
World, you've seen what has happened in Sri Lanka. Let's be fair and be prudent and speak the truth of the matter. Whose
fault is that? Is it bad leadership?
It does not mean that
who do we blame these things on? I mean, Kwabena, come on. You want to be president. You have said on several platforms that Ghanaians should give you the nod, or the party should give you the nod to lead this country. Now, that means that you have plans of what you want the country to look like, regardless of what the economy is, regardless of whatever war and all of that.
Particular question.
Yes. So if you tell me,
will it be a difficult assignment to win 2024? And I said yes. The fact that we admit that it's difficult doesn't mean that we cannot win. So that's an admission that, considering the economic environment, let's be honest with ourselves, we all know what is going on in our lives is tough. So we have to admit that it is tough, but we have to provide solutions. And we are capable of providing solutions. I've said before, I do not understand for the life of me why we have to continue to go out there to syndicate loans from outside just to come and buy cocoa. Cocoa is bought in cedis from our farmers in Ghana. There has to be a possibility of raising local money to be able to do so. And we've had this cocoa industry for over 100 years. That industry should take care of itself and have enough money, not for us to go out there to go and borrow at huge interest rates, just because there are people who are interested in the arrangement fees, the legal fees, and the insurance fees. These are things that we can stop easily when you are the president. These are things you can stop and change. I've talked about the fact that the Constitution provides a maximum of 19 cabinet ministers. And I share the belief that all ministers should be cabinet ministers. So I have very radical opinions on different forms of aspects of our governance. I don't subscribe to the view that we should have 16 member Supreme Court. I think we should cap it at 9. I'm worried about the proliferation of districts. We started 110, now we have 261, almost coterminous with the constituencies. That is making the cost of running government too high and too expensive. These are things we can roll back. And these are some of the things that I would get the opportunity to do when that time comes. Akosua.
You're still watching The Hard Truth. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You are still watching The Hard Truth. Former General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, Mr. Kwabena Agyapong, is still here. Kwabena, now, what are your views on the government, going to the IMF, negotiations now with the IMF? What are your views on it?
Well, I think it's if a government elects as part of its economic policy to go to the IMF, they have the prerogative to do so. I served under President Akufo. He elected to go for HIPIC, to accept the HIPIC. What is important is the way we present things. And I'm sure that people are talking about it so much because there was a lot of noises made. People made certain statements that they shouldn't have made. In today's internet age, whatever you say is there forever. So you have to be very measured in the statements you make. And I think that is the reason why there's a lot.
Are you referring to we will never go to the IMF statement? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think some of the statements were unnecessary. You don't need to make those
why go to the IMF? They said themselves, we have minerals, we have XYZ, we can manage our own affairs.
They are running the country. They have full complement of the issues, the data, and what they are dealing with. And so if they found that necessity to go
16
there,
times, there's a 17th time.
It's the 17th time, but we've done it before, way times in the past. So, as I said, going to the IMF itself is not the news.
When will it end?
It's not the news.
We
have to work hard to be able to be self-reliant. That's absolutely vital. It's important. I've always said, you have to cut your coat according to the cloth that you can afford. You understand? And there's no point spending what you do not have. And when I draw the analogy with running your home, people think that I'm being too simplistic. But yes, running a nation is complex, but the principles remain the same. You can't spend money that you don't have. So it's absolutely vital that we rethink what we do and be more self-reliant, prepare our budget with what we have and what we can manage. I think if you go to the Ghanaian people and tell them, look, this is our state right now. We have to increase revenue, cut expenditure, and attempt to balance our budget. If we go there in humility and explain the thing better to them, they will understand.
And do what? And take you back and, vote for you again? I mean...
Well, that's the decision. You see, life is not about just the voting.
It
I've told
begins
you,
from there.
My passion is
It
about the
begins from
transformation of
yes,
this country.
yes.
It's about the transformation.
You
Look,
can
right now,
have your
right now,
ideas in your
Akosua,
mind,
what
but if
we
you are not
need-
voted for, I mean, you
Never-
can't implement them. Yes.
Akosua, what we need
Yes.
now,
Yes.
we need a new orientation, a new thinking, a new direction, and a new dawn, the crack of a new dawn in our politics, in our body politic. And I'm serious about that. People should recognize that politics or governance, the centrality of governance, is the welfare of especially the underserved populations of this country. We have to create a buffer for them. That is why we are into politics. It's not all we will get out of politics. We should not create the impression in the minds of people that political parties go into power and treat national assets
What's
as a piece
happening
of
now?
cake.
Exactly. What's happening
But
now? We
if
see
it's-
this
it
thing
is
happening
wrong.
right now.
It is wrong. And some of us politicians have to stand up and speak against that and work towards changing that and create the confidence that we need to create in the society for them to have total trust in the political system that we are operating.
Right, Kwabena, make me understand and the viewers watching understand. Is it okay to go to the IMF? Is it okay?
There are so many countries around the world that have gone to the IMF. You've just said Ghana has been there, this is going to be our 17th time. So that is fine. It's an avenue that you can use. But the question is, you should ask yourself, do self-introspection and ask yourself whether you could have managed things better and not ended up there. That is the questions that we should be asking ourselves. As for the IMF, it's a global institution. It's always there. There are many countries that have elected to go to the IMF for a program. Most importantly, we have to look at about how we run our own affairs in our country, how we manage our economy. The question is, how do we prioritize? For instance, tourism is an area that if we focus on, it's one area we don't look at comprehensively. That can really take up the teeming population. The major problem we face in Ghana now is a matter of unemployment, youth unemployment. People coming out of school, hundreds of thousands, not having an avenue. And definitely the government's system is not enough to absorb the teeming youth.
I see.
It means that as a government or as a people, we have to look at areas that we have competitive advantage. Certain nations have just survived on tourism. We have the most fantastic beach line in Ghana, littered with forts and castles that have been allowed to go to waste. And these are areas, if you build one hotel, this hotel is a place that employs a lot of people at the same time, much more than even factories. These days, because of modernization, factories don't employ that many people. You understand? So it's a matter of prioritizing. I'm happy the government is going towards STEM, which is science and technical education, so that we can have middle-level personnel technicians that will maintain the industries.
Now, Dr. Bawumia blamed the prevailing difficulties on COVID-19, in the Russia-Ukraine war. And he said the President Mahamis or former Mahamis government. Now, do you think that this is the time or the time is prudent for him to still blame these things on a previous government?
So I don't want to reduce this to a personal argument.
I'm listening.
But most importantly, we are in the 6th year of our term, or the 2nd year of our 2nd term. So making references too far back is not the most prudent thing to do. I think that as a government, we came and met the challenges, accepted those challenges, and that's why we're voted into office, and we'll have to deal with it. We have to deal with it. Take the decisions that, in our view, will give us the best opportunity to be able to solve our problems. Governance is about providing solutions to problems that we face as a country, imposing order and discipline in our country. And I've said, a place like the ports in Tema, the amount of money that I believe that we should be earning, we are earning far less because the place leaks like a basket. It's important that you take grip of certain situations, because I've been governing before and I know what goes on.
Yeah, and it's clear that there has to be some expenditure cut.
If you look at the extractive industry,
right?
The last time I checked, the areas, the destination of our mining exports, they are recording sometimes 4 or 5 times the amount that we are recording at our ports as leaving. So there's something going on here. There's pilfering going on here that we have to stop.
I see.
These are things that internal controls that we can put in place and make sure that we get the revenue that we need to show up our budget.
Let's look at the expenditure cut again. So I'm asking, which of government's, flagship programs in your view need to be benched for now?
When you talk about expenditure cutting, it's not just flagship programs that we are talking about. We are talking about value for money. I think in this country, we are being fleeced a lot with the projects that we are undertaking. And I'm a civil engineer, so when I speak with a certain modest amount of experience in these areas. Things that should be costing 10 cedis should not be given to government at 20 cedis or 30 cedis. They should be compared. There's too much selective tendering in this country. And even the procurement agency, I've never ascribed to the fact that there should be an agency like that in the first place. Every unit should be able to do their own procurement and should do the right procurement, looking at the country's interest. We don't need to set up an entity as a central entity. Is another layer of bureaucracy that has brought nothing to this country. And those are areas that, if I had the opportunity, we'll scrap.
Which one?
Procurement Authority.
What do you make of, Honorable Ken Ofori-Attah's performance as a finance minister?
I think you enjoy picking particular ministers.
Why? I'm asking you. He's a finance minister holding a very important position in the country.
I think
what do you make of his performance? Yeah.
It's part of a government. Of course, you have a finance minister. You should be able to have your own personal imprint. But as I said, the sweetness of the pudding lies in the eating. Is that not it? So this is where we've ended. So it's not for me to say anything. We are where we are.
And that's his fault, I mean.
Well, we are where we are. So as a country, you, as I say, you reap what you sow. In life generally, you reap what you sow.
Should he resign? Should the finance minister resign?
I would think that on the basis of what he said 2 weeks before to the whole country, which is that we will never go to the IMF and we are a proud country, we have the resources. And when you speak like that, you should look yourself in the mirror and say, look, I got it wrong. Mr. President, I thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I should stand down.
A section of Ghanaians have, been mounting pressure on the president to do a reshuffle. What do you think? Isn't it long overdue? Do we need a reshuffle now?
It's a bit, as I said earlier, of a novelty not to have a major reshuffle in about 6 years. Because even football teams at halftime, even if you are not going to pull players out, you can shift a midfielder and say, go back into defense.
So it's about time.
Yeah, so I normally that's what happens. So, but again, I'm not here to second guess the president. He's a very experienced person. He's been around the politics of this country for so long, and he should know what to do. It's not for me to come and push him to make changes to his government.
Mr. Kwabena
But again, I know for a fact that the verdict that the Ghanaians delivered in 2020 was enough indication to him to recognize that the country was not entirely happy with the first term. And with that, to advise himself on the changes to make to give the party the opportunity to win 2024. And I do hope he still has some time left, 2.5 years maybe, he should be able to make that.
Personally, has President Akufo-Addo lived up to your expectation as the president of Ghana?
I've had opportunity to be asked this many times. And I don't think it's for me as an individual to come and make my views on that. No.
Let me help you. What are his high points at the presidency?
I think especially the work they've done on the road network in this country has been massive. When I speak as a civil engineer, I've traveled around the country, a lot of work going on. The question is, do we have a maintenance culture, a maintenance plan to back the initial investments? And I say this without any fear of contradiction, that I haven't seen any government touch so many roads at the same time in different parts of the country, in different regional capitals or district capitals, all at the same time. That was impressive. But it's important that the engineers who are working on these projects are making sure that the initial investment is good, the design is good, the quality control, the quality assurance is good, so that we fall into disrepair very quickly.
What are his low points? The president's low points?
I wouldn't know. He may be the best person to ask. How do you expect me to know the president's low points? I wouldn't know.
Kwabena, what are his low points as a president? You are here. You're a citizen.
No, it's difficult. No.
He said you are happy with the road networks.
Yes.
When you so what are the low points?
Are his low points? Or
in his role as president.
You can ask me, what do I think may be the challenges?
In your opinion.
In my opinion.
In our opinion.
Yeah, that's a different question.
In your opinion.
Yes. I thought you said, what are his low points?
In your opinion.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
I think the fact that we are going back to IMF is a low point. I think that's a low point.
So what should he do?
Well, you have to look at the envelope of things and activities that you control. Prioritize and make sure that there's value for money for our country and cut out the waste. I think the government has been too large in the past, and we can reduce that, increase efficiency. Those are things that can generate enthusiasm around the country and send the right signal for the people, the population, to be on side with the government. Right now, the interviews you hear and the expressions from people, they are not on side because they feel that the government is asking them to tighten their belts while government is coolly enjoying perks of power. So outwardly, we have to show that no, we are leading by example. We are taking the difficult, hard road, and we want you to come along with us. And to take the difficult, hard road, you have to make, I would say, proper surgery of your own government. And that's for him to do.
He needs to make proper surgery of his government.
That's right.
Thank you so much. Thank you for talking to the hard truth. Mr. Kwabena Agyapong has been my guest, and he's a former General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. Can the new executives of the party lead the party or, NPP to the promised land? Can they break the 8, as they call it? Share your thoughts with us on our social media platforms on your screen right now. You've been watching The Hard Truth. My name is Nana Akosua, Konadu Asante-Samuels. Thank you so much for your time. Catch your the program on Saturday at 2 p.m. And thank you. Have a good evening. Bye.